During this project, we're going to model a simple house design in Cinema 4D and then export it to 3D print it. I hope you enjoy it. So to start our house, we're going to start with a primitive, so go up and grab a cube, and let's extend the side of that cube out so that it's about double the width. And we're going to add some segments to it just for starting points, and as I go through this and we add features to this building, know that I want you to be creative with it and change it any way you want. Let's go up to display here and click guard shading lines so that we can see the geometry we're working with, and bump the segments up so that we have 3 segments along the sides in the middle of it now, and along the top we want 2 segments because we're going to grab this line and create a roof. So once you have all of your segments set up like this, click the Make Editable button, and now we can go in and start to model this. Holding Option on the keyboard will allow you to pan around. You're going to want to do that quite a bit while we're working on this. So we're going to go into line mode and this mode, poly mode, quite a bit. We'll go back and forth between those. With line mode selected, go ahead and select your lines. Click on a line, hold Shift, and holding Shift the whole time, we can select all 3 of those. We're going to go ahead and grab our Y-axis arrow, and we can move that roof up and down to our liking. So move it up as high as you want. And again, you can, with that still selected, we can make as many adjustments as we want. If there's something we don't like, remember we can always go back and hit undo. And we'll be doing that probably quite a bit as you go through this. So drag your roof top up, and then let's go ahead and pan around to what we'll consider the front of the building. So we're going to add some features to this house. We'll add some windows and a door and perhaps a garage here as well, extend it out a little bit and kind of go from there. So click poly mode, and we're going to click this left poly here, holding Shift, click the right one, and let's add some window features. We'll use I for inner extrude, and we're going to extrude some line work inward so that we can get some framing going with these windows. Now, before I work with the framing around the windows, let's go ahead and recess that those windows just a little bit. We'll hit D for extrude, and let's extrude them not outward. We don't want to pop them out like that. Let's extrude them inward just a tad bit. And these little features in the 3D print model will just make it look a little bit more authentic. Now we need to select the framing around the windows, so we're going to go up to our selection tool here. And instead of trying to hover around and zoom in and try to be crazy exact with the selection tool, we need to bump this radius down a little bit. The default was 10. I'm going to go down to about 3. And now I can make smaller selections, and holding Shift on my keyboard I can just very quickly go around and click on the geometry that I want to adjust with these window frames. I'm going to hit D for extrude, and I'm just going to extrude those outward just a touch, just to give them a little bit of character. That's pretty good for the windows. They're not realistic, totally realistic, but just to get started with this model and get something 3D printed, that'll be a nice little feature. Now, the next thing that I want to do is add a front door. So I'm going to go ahead and click this poly here, holding Shift, click the one underneath it. I'm going to hit I for inner extrude, and I'm going to extrude just a little doorway in, and grab that back handle, that Z-axis handle, and pull that back just a touch. And that will give me a little area that's recessed, and now I can cut out a door. So let's click model mode, and we'll go back to poly mode. Let's talk about the modeling menu. When I hit M on my keyboard, a menu will show up, and we're going to use a few of these tools that are in this menu. So again, M for menu. And if you look down through that menu, you can see there's a line cut tool, K. That's our knife tool. So we'll hit M and then K, and now we can take that knife and we can cut out a little doorway here. So I'm going to try to stay as straight as possible, just kind of eyeball it. Won't use any guides here. Should be able to cut out a door pretty easily. And just cut out a little area around there, and then we can go back in poly mode and we can select those 2 things. Let me hit escape to get out of that with our selection tool. and we can click on those two little entities and we'll have a door that we can extrude. But just one last thing before we do that, let's go back into line mode and let's select this line that's in the middle of our door. Just one other thing that you can do, if you hit M on your keyboard, and we can hit dissolve, which is N. So hit M for menu, N for dissolve, and with that highlighted we can make that thing dissolve. So we'll go M and then N, and now that little line that was in the middle of the door is gone. So we'll go back to poly mode, and I'm going to hit D for extrude, and let's just extrude this inward a little bit just so that door has a little bit more recess. It'll look a little bit more interesting. And you can add some side windows or whatever you want to the rest of the door, but I'm just going to leave that as is. Now let's talk about the side of the house over here. So let's say that we want a garage to butt out of the side of this. We can add some geometry to it and extend that a bit. So I'm going to hit M on the keyboard and K for knife, and let's go in and just let's cut out from the bottom here, paying attention to the side of the building, and try to keep things as straight as possible. Let's cut out a little bit of geometry that we can extend outward. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to cut, trying to stay equidistant to the side of the building, and we're going to extend this out a little bit. Now, without healing those lines, I'm going to hit escape on my keyboard just to escape the knife tool. I'm going to go in and select these polys here, holding shift, and extend those outward. So I'm going to select all of those, again holding shift, hit D for extrude, and extrude those outward and add a little bit of a garage feature to my house. Now when I hold option, pan around, you can see that got the bungalow here, and we'll have a garage here. So on this side of the house, let's add some geometry just for a garage door. So I'm going to hit M for menu, K for knife, and let's add some lines here. And actually, compared to the door over here, that's not going to be big enough. So I can hit escape, and I'm going to undo those lines and go back and recut these. So let's make this a little bit higher up on my building. And that will work. So now we have some geometry that we can make a little quick garage door with. So I'm going to select those polys, holding shift, hit D on my keyboard, and we're just going to extrude this inward a little bit so there's a little bit of a lip. And if you want to put a casing around it, you can take the knife tool and just cut out a casing, but that will give us a little feature, and that looks pretty good. Alright, so looking around at the rest of the building, I've got this garage here. Perhaps I'd like a garage window. So let's hold option, pan to the front, M and then K, take the knife tool, and let's add a nice big window in the garage. I hit D for extrude. Oop. When I hit D there, I had the whole thing selected, the whole building, and if that would happen, just literally go up and hit undo. Let me redo the line work that we got, and that way I can select this window. I'm going to hit D for extrude and extrude that inward a little bit. And let's say that this is an old style bungalow, and we're going to add a little feature on the side of it. Let's add say an air conditioner. So I'm going to hit M for menu, K for knife again. Let's cut out a little block for a window air conditioner circa 1980s. So I have an area cut out here with this line selected in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and heal that out. So I'll hit M and then N for dissolve. Let me go back and select a line. I'm starting to get out of place here a little bit. It looks like I cut that up pretty good. Now I cut that in a bunch of sections. Let's just go ahead and extrude it. So I'll go back to my poly mode, select this plane, hold shift, select the other. I don't want to get out of the knife tool there. Alright, now we're good. So I'll just go to poly mode, click this side of it, hold shift, click the other side of it, and click D for extrude. And we'll extrude a little area to make it look like perhaps it has some air conditioning coming off of it, or perhaps a bay window, which that may actually look pretty good. Let's make this, turn this into a bay window. So I'm going to select the front where the window would be itself, holding shift, so I have those two planes selected, and I'm going to use my my scale tool here. And let's just shrink this down a little bit to give it a little bit more of a feature. Now we have the sides of the bay window with a little bit of character, and that looks pretty good like that. Alright, in the back, let's create a back door here. So we'll go M, menu, K, knife, cut out a little back door, and just using those original lines, those original segment lines, we should be able to get things pretty straight and even. So I've got that cut out. Select the top one, the bottom one, holding shift, hit D for extrude, and I'm just going to extrude this inward just a touch so that I can have a door there. Let's go over here and create another window. So I'll select this plane here, grab my select tool, and let's go I for inner extrude and give this one a casing, and then D for extrude, and I'm going to go back and select that window casing, holding shift as I click around, go D for extrude, and I'll extrude it out just a touch so that again it has some character. And from here, we do have a feature on every side of the building. This won't be a crazy complex 3D print, but that's okay. It will at least give us a starting point for some different areas to go in and apply paint to the model. And as a first building in Cinema 4D, just using a couple of tools, this should work out pretty well. So I've got this cube. Now I just need to export my model for 3D print. Select it up here in the Objects Manager. Go to File, Export, select STL, and we'll call this House, and export to the desktop for 3D print. Make sure you switch over to millimeters for scale, click OK, and we'll get this thing printed.